Hi, and welcome to the Senior Network. I'm your host, Greg Fulton. Today we are joined by Tatiana Zanzig, Pruitt Home Health, correct?
Yes.
Glad to have you again. It's been a while.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Well, I know before the show we were talking about, unfortunately, the same old topic, the pandemic and stuff. And I know that in your field, you've got a lot of folks that have other medical issues and procedures and things. And you had talked about that you're running into a lot of people with the fear factor of COVID.
Yes.
So speak to that, if you will.
So right now, our biggest struggle, we've been pretty steady. We've been out there educating the public, educating our patients and families, making sure they're aware of how to safeguard themselves against COVID. And I know we talked about that
the PPE,
a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
So right now, our biggest struggle is we're having patients and families be so fearful, to go to the hospital or to bring in home health, that they kind of put things off, and it ends up ultimately negatively impacting the patient.
Down the road, exactly.
Yeah, so that's kind of what our biggest struggle is at this point.
Right. And you're kind of seeing that maybe throughout all your region. Beaufort, Hilton had different hospitals, is that right?
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's kind of what's going on.
It is.
Well, and you had also mentioned too, and I was curious about, you had mentioned maybe some regulations changing and the continuity of care and things like that are being affected. Is that right?
Yeah, so, what a lot of facilities have expressed, DHEC has kind of made some adjustments to some of their typical, rules and regulations.
Sure, right.
They're trying to make it a little bit easier on patients and families getting a patient into their facility. For example, some skilled nursing facilities, whereas they might not have been able to get a patient into their facility without having a qualifying hospital stay beforehand,
right,
and then transferring straight to the skilled nursing facility. Now, we're at the point where I think there's like a waiver in place, and they can actually get patients and families into their facility without having a hospital stay.
Oh, okay.
Which is huge.
Yeah.
Because, a lot of times patients might not be home health appropriate. They might be a little bit too skilled, and they
Right.
need that extra help before transitioning back to home health.
I got it. And for our viewers that don't know, Tatiana, when you guys, you work with a lot of patients leaving the hospital and going into the home environment a lot, right?
We do.
And give us an idea of some kind of service levels, things that you are doing when you get to the home.
Well, first of all, we always screen our patients and families beforehand to make sure, being that they were just at a facility,
Sure.
they're certainly at risk for having come into contact with somebody with, who is COVID positive.
Yeah, sure, right.
So we certainly treat every patient as if they could potentially be COVID positive.
Oh, okay.
We
That means
have-
with the equipment, everyone that goes in the house would wear PPE and so forth? Or?
Yes, and
Okay.
we have different levels.
Okay.
So, we of course screen them. We kind of see who's most at risk, and we adjust accordingly. We have a pretty strict protocol in place. We have phone calls every day to make sure that we're communicating with not only patients and their families, but also our clinicians.
Sure.
We're
Oh,
making
yeah.
sure that we're reaching out to everybody to make sure there's no surprises.
Yeah.
And just tailoring our care to meet their needs safely.
Right. Is there any more additional, I'm sure there has been, additional training with your staff that's going into the home with this pandemic?
Absolutely, yeah. They've had to complete a bunch of tutorials. We've had meetings. We have a meeting every day. It's a conference call.
Right.
And they can call in and talk about any, questions or concerns. And that's in addition to the mandatory daily call that we have communicating with all. So, we're doing everything we possibly can to make
mitigate,
sure
yeah.
that we're covering all of our bases. And
Well, I know your reputation. I'm sure you are.
Thank you.
Now, what about yourself? Are you able to get out now at all into the assisted livings or skilled nursing? Not really?
No, that's been a big workaround. And, the hospitals have said, even though they've kind of loosened their restrictions on the visitor policy,
Right.
They've still asked us that unless it's absolutely necessary to come into the facility, to kind of do it remotely. And I really haven't had any issues.
No, everything you can do virtual almost, yeah.
You really can. We're able to communicate with case managers. I'm
Yeah.
able to talk to patients before they leave the hospital. I can reach out to their family anytime. So we really haven't had an issue with, the continuity of care, it's been
Sure.
pretty streamlined.
How Zoom has changed our lives. Right?
It really has, yeah.
Tatiana, always great to see you. Great
Thank you,
information.
likewise.
Thank you so much. We need to take a break. Stay with us. We'll be here on the Senior Network. Thank you so much.